Well, I know President Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him, and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared visibly taken aback as U.S. President Donald Trump publicly claimed that Netanyahu respects Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a statement that jarred with years of bitter public hostility between Israel and Turkey. Speaking alongside Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, Trump repeatedly praised Erdogan, calling him a good friend and insisting that Israel and Turkey would not face any problems going forward. The remark prompted raised eyebrows in diplomatic circles, given Erdogan's long-standing criticism of Israel and his vocal backing of Hamas during the Gaza war. Trump told reporters that Netanyahu and Erdogan are not going to have a problem, adding that both leaders respected each other and that any tensions would be managed with U.S. involvement. "I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen," Trump said, referring to Erdogan. Netanyahu, standing beside him, did not directly confirm Trump's assertion, despite years of open verbal clashes between the Israeli premier and the Turkish leader over Gaza, Jerusalem, and Israel's military operations in Syria. Asked about Turkey's potential participation in a future Gaza stabilization force, an idea Israel has strongly opposed, Trump said he would discuss the matter directly with Erdogan and hinted that Netanyahu's views would be taken into account. He also revealed that Washington was seriously thinking about reviving the long-stalled sale of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, a program from which Ankara was removed in 2019 after purchasing Russian missile defense systems.
Well, I hope he's going to get along with Syria because the new president of Syria is working very hard to do a good job. He really is. I know he's a tough cookie, and he's, you're not going to get a choir boy to lead Syria. That's the one thing I will say. So I hope they're going to get along because, I dropped the sanctions on Syria because otherwise they wouldn't have had a chance. We want to see Syria survive. So we're going to be talking about Syria too, okay?
Both the leaders also talked about the broader understanding between the United States and Israel regarding Syria. He said Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Shara, whose forces ousted Bashar al-Assad last year, had been aligned with U.S. efforts and suggested Israel could establish workable relations with Damascus. "He's been with us all the way," Trump said of Shara. "I'm sure Israel and him will get along. I will make it so that they do get along." Netanyahu framed Israel's Syria policy more cautiously, saying Jerusalem's primary interest was ensuring a peaceful border and protecting minority communities, particularly Druze populations near the frontier. He added that Christians across Syria and the wider Middle East should also be safeguarded. Trump interrupted to stress that Erdogan played a decisive role in Assad's removal by backing Syrian opposition forces, claiming Netanyahu agreed with that assessment, despite the Israeli leader previously arguing that Israeli strikes against Iran-backed forces were key to Assad's collapse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm. And we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side. But if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But They have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
Is Israel withdrawing its forces?
Well, that's a separate subject. We'll talk about that.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, did you have a message for the Prime Minister about the West Bank? And are you at all concerned that settler violence, Israeli settler violence, could be undermining the peace plan?
Well, we have had a discussion, big discussion, for a long time on the West Bank. And I wouldn't say we agree on the West Bank 100%, but we will come to a conclusion on the West Bank.
If I could ask, what is the disagreement?
Well, I don't want to do that. It'll be announced at an appropriate time. But he will do the right thing. I know that. I know him very well. He will do the right thing.
On Gaza, Trump struck a confrontational tone, warning Hamas that there would be hell to pay if it failed to disarm quickly as part of a ceasefire arrangement. He said Israel was complying with the deal and voiced full backing for Netanyahu's hard-line stance on the next phase, which excludes Hamas from governance and calls for disarmament and a multinational security force. "I'm not concerned about anything Israel's doing," Trump said. Trump also acknowledged differences with Israel over the occupied West Bank, saying Washington and Tel Aviv did not agree 100%, but would eventually reach a conclusion. The remarks came amid continued Israeli military operations in Gaza, restrictions on humanitarian access, and rising violence in the West Bank, issues that continue to strain regional diplomacy, even as Trump sought to project confidence in Israel's relationships with both Turkey and Syria.